Good morning, everyone. I'm Rob Kaiser, publisher of the Greater Wilmington Business Journal. Welcome to the Power Breakfast series. We have a great panel with us today to talk about the growing businesses in our region, as well as the opportunities we have to grow more companies here. We're also doing something new today. Right after today's Power Breakfast, we're hosting the Wilma Leadership Accelerator right here. This is an annual event that's part of our Women to Watch Leadership Initiative to help develop more women leaders in local businesses, nonprofits, government bodies, and boards of directors. We welcome women and men at this event. You can learn more by visiting wleadership.com. You can still register after today's breakfast at the registration table on the Nut Street side of the building. For those of you here who've already registered for Leadership Accelerator, you'll head down to the Nut Street side of the building after this for the breakout sessions, and then we'll be back in here for the keynote lunch. I also wanted to mention today a new media property that we are officially launching in July called Good Life Wilmington. This will mainly be a digital property to serve current retirees in our area, as well as those looking at our region as a retirement destination. We'll also publish an annual Good Life Wilmington magazine. If you'd like to learn more about how your business can be a part of this, please see me or talk with your Business Journal marketing consultant after today's breakfast. Next, I'd like to thank the sponsors who make this Power Breakfast series possible. Our presenting sponsors, who you'll hear from in a moment, are Duke Energy and First National Bank. Our parking sponsor is Plantation Village. Our technology sponsor is CloudWise. And our corporate sponsors are Bank of America, Cape Fear Community College, Catapult, Cape Fear Realtors, Cape Fear Solar Systems, Copiers Plus, Customers Bank, Cumulus Media, ECS, Green Resources, Genesis Block, Kirsting Architecture, Michael Best Law Firm, the Michelle Clark Team, Miller Mott College, New Hanover County, North Carolina Ports, Novant Health, Seaside Punch List, CEPI, UNCW, Wide Open Technologies, Wells Fargo, Wilmington International Airport, and the Wilmington Chamber of Commerce. Let's please have a round of applause for all of our sponsors. We'll first hear from our presenting sponsors. First, Pam Hardy with Duke Energy, and she'll be followed by Spence Broadhurst and Sandy Spears with First National Bank.
Good morning. Good morning. Okay. I'm Pam Hardy, your district manager with Duke Energy. My role in our government and community affairs organization is to assist local businesses, government leaders, and others in our region to make sure we remain a great place to live and run the businesses that we live in. Part of my role is to assist with economic development and building relationships in the community. So I'm happy today to give some of my time to connect you to a great new resource we have in our region. On April 28th, Wilmington International Airport announced the addition of Avelo. I've been practicing all morning. Avelo. A low-cost airline to serve our community. Today, I'd like to give some of my time so we can hear a video message from Travis Christ, the head of marketing for Avelo Airlines, and then we will have some prizes from Avelo for our attendees at today's Power Breakfast.
Hi everyone, I'm Travis Christ with Avelo Airlines. We are the new low-fare airline at Wilmington. First I want to thank Pam and Duke Energy for giving us a few seconds here to introduce ourselves. We are indeed the new low-fare airline in town. We've got service beginning July 1st to Orlando, to New Haven, Connecticut, and to Baltimore, Washington. And if things continue to book as well as they have so far, then we'll be adding some new cities over time as well. We're really excited to be here, glad to be a part of the community. You'll only find us at aveloair.com. We keep our fares low by keeping our costs low, and that includes selling directly ourselves. So look for aveloair.com. We'll be giving away some free tickets here at the event today. So looking forward to seeing many of you on our flights now and in the future at Wilmington. Thanks again, and looking forward to meeting many of you.
So now I get to give away some free tickets. Today we have 4 vouchers that include 2 round-trip flights on the airline of your choice, Avelo Airlines, I'm sorry, of your choice. I want to see if you're awake. That's what I want to do. Choice to either Orlando, New Haven, or Baltimore, Washington International Airport, priority boarding, 1 carry-on and 1 check bag, and seat assignments worth up to $20. To find out if you won, open the business journal at your seat to page 3 and hold up your paper to see if you see a Avelo sticker on that page. If you'll stand, if you have that sticker, and we'll have someone bring you that voucher. Quickly. Got one over here. Okay. All right. All right. All right. Congratulations to the winners. And again, welcome to the community. Thank you so much.
Well, good morning. It's great to see everybody here this morning. And for those of you who have been here a number of times, you know I have complained over the last several times of having to follow Gary Green from Green Resources because he's always so prepared, has that classic radio voice, and I come up here and stumble after him. So the Biz Journal has a great solution for that. They put me up here following Pam giving away free airline tickets. I got nothing. We are proud to be a sponsor this morning, especially to hear these outstanding growth stories. And as we know, our community is growing and our businesses are growing. And at First National Bank, we feel like that this growth is fostered by partnerships. And partnerships are with people, not bricks and mortar. And today I'm so proud to introduce the newest member of our team who takes partnership to the highest level, who adds value to everything that she does. And I'd like to introduce our new market executive for First National Bank in the greater Wilmington area, Sandy Spears.
Yeah, that is hard to beat. I will tell you, I don't know, the Avelo people aren't here, but my children already have tickets with Avelo. So I'm back. Rob is starting a rumor that I went to First National Bank just so I could speak at the Power Breakfast. That is not true, Rob, but I am excited to be here, but I'm even more excited to be part of First National Bank. We are a bank that's here to do business, and y'all please come and see us. We're right here at table number 3. We'd love to work with you. And a warning to all of you in the future, if you've heard me before, you know I've had one grandchild, Henry. Well, I got 2 now. I got Penelope, so be aware, be aware. All right, so today the Power Breakfast is about growth. And Gary Green, I'm going to kick your butt too, just FYI. I see you over there. Today the Power Breakfast is about growth. And you know these guys, they've all done a lot of growing in the last few years. So you know me, I tried to find a Dr. Seuss quote on growth, and I might have one. But I want to read a little story to you guys really quick. So 2 woodcutters were in a competition to see who could cut down more trees by the end of the day. The first was an experienced woodcutter, older in years, and the second was a younger, stronger man, eager to prove his ability. Both men set out to chopping. After about an hour or so, the more experienced man paused, sat down to take a break, and invited the other to join him. The younger, stronger woodcutter replied, "No way. I'm going to keep chopping. I'm going to beat you." "Suit yourself," said the experienced man. This pattern repeated itself several times throughout the day. Ever so often, the experienced man would pause his chopping, rest a while, and the younger man kept chopping away. At the end of the day, when the two woodcutters compared to see who had chopped more wood, the younger and stronger woodcutter was surprised to find that the older woodcutter, who kept taking breaks, had chopped a significantly more amount of wood. He said, "How is that even possible? I'm stronger than you. I never stop chopping. What is your secret?" The experienced man said, "Every time I sat down, I was sharpening my axe." So I'm sure these companies have all taken time to sharpen their axe. And that's what you need to help you grow in your business. So to end my day today, I can't do this without one Dr. Seuss quote. And this is my favorite, so I figured I'd share it with you guys. And it kind of makes a difference in what you're doing with growth, so it kind of ties in. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, you can steer yourself any direction you choose. So y'all, go grow your business. Don't forget to stop and sharpen your axe, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you again to all the sponsors, and Sandy, welcome back to the stage. I'm sticking with my rumor as to why you switched jobs. The idea for today's breakfast came from all the new and growing businesses we've seen in our region recently. We have some of these businesses here with us today to share their stories, and we're also going to talk about the advantages and challenges of growing businesses here and what opportunities our region has to grow more companies and jobs locally. I would like to announce one cast member change today that's not included in your programs. At this morning's performance, the role of panelist Robin Spinks will be played by Natalie English. Seriously, Robin sends her regrets not being able to be here today. She tested positive for COVID yesterday, so I had to make a quick call yesterday to Natalie, letting her I could get her a much better seat at today's Power Breakfast, so I hope you have a good view there now. So starting with Natalie, I'd like to introduce today's panel. Natalie English is the president and CEO of the Wilmington Chamber of Commerce. Next to her is Daniel Mann, the founder and president of Topsail Steamer. Next is Ben Curran, the CEO of Vanica. And closest to me is Carolyn Obbitz, the National Talent Acquisition Manager at Megacorp. If we could please have a round of applause for our panel. If you have a question during the discussion today, please text it in to the number that's in your program. It's 910-264-8955. Make sure you include your name and table number with your text, and we'll get a microphone to as many of you as possible so you can ask your questions directly to the panelists. So I'd like to kick us off with Carolyn, Ben, and Danielle. You know, they represent three fast-growing companies in our area. And just so everybody can get a sense of those businesses first, I'd like them each to take a few minutes to, one, explain what their companies do and briefly tell where they are on their growth path. So, Carolyn, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. So I am with Megacorp Logistics. We are a third-party logistics company. So as a company, we go out and find shipping managers that have a need to move, the goods that you find in your stores, restaurants, grocery stores every single day. And then we're going out and finding independent truck owners, owner-operators, small carriers to be able to move that freight from point A to point B. That's what we do as a company. So we've been in Wilmington since 2009, so 13 years strong.
So one interesting thing about Megacorp, especially for purposes of our discussion today, is they have grown, they're founded here, they've grown the most in Wilmington, but they're also in a couple other larger markets. So if you could maybe talk for a minute about that contrast of recruiting and growing the business here, and maybe a little bit about the other markets where you're growing as well.
Yeah, so, 2009 here, so 13 years, coming up on 14. Our second largest office is in Covington, Kentucky. And that market, there are a lot of other logistics and 3PL services in Cincinnati, Ohio, Chicago. That whole area is kind of inundated. So But even there, we're growing strong. We just became the key anchor tenant for the new Ovation complex that they're putting in there. So we're expanding from our current location of 20,000 square feet up to 40,000 square feet. Our Jacksonville, Florida location went from a leased space and back probably 2 months ago. We outfitted a 65,000 square foot office space that we have moved into as well. And then we opened up a new office back in September in Morgantown, West Virginia. And then we also have an office in Elkins, West Virginia, which is where our owner Ryan Legg is from.
Great. Thank you. Ben?
Absolutely. So first, thank you for having me. And Pam, Avelo, I can relate. Everyone here has probably said Vantaca the first time you said it, but I'll set the record straight. It's Vantica, so Pam, I identify with that so no worries. So what Vantica does, we're a property tech, fintech company, so property technology, financial technology that serves the community association management industry. And most of you would say, great, what does that mean? So what that means is our customers are property management companies that specialize in managing large numbers of community associations. So that's HOAs, homeowner associations, condominium associations, co-ops, all across the country. So our customers could be on the small end, a small team who manages dozens of communities, thousands of homes, to on the larger end, thousands or 1,000+ communities and hundreds of thousands of homes. So we are the software solution that provides kind of an end-to-end platform for them to do their entire job. Everything from accepting homeowner payments to finding vendors, managing insurance, producing financials, integrating into their bank, kind of the works there. So that's the short version of what Vantica does.
Great. So can you talk a little bit about how many employees you have now and where you see that going in the next couple of years?
Absolutely. So we were founded in 2016 here in Wilmington, and that was kind of the original Skunkworks team of just a couple folks writing code and getting the platform kind of ready for sale. And since then, we've grown to more than 100 employees today. Since the beginning of the year, we've added about 30 employees since January 1st, so really starting to ramp our growth here in the last year or so. And we feel like we're just getting started. So while we're certainly in the first inning for Vantica, maybe we're shifting from the top of the first to the bottom of the first, but we're really just getting started and looking to grow a lot more.
Great. Danielle?
I also can identify, I struggle with topsail and topsail. So in this room, I can say it's topsail steamer, but everywhere else I have to call it topsail steamer, or people think I'm in topsoil. So, topsail steamer, we're a retail hospitality business. We have retail locations, and we make seafood steam pots in a single-use pot for our customers to take and steam and eat at home. Currently, right now, we have 6 locations, 2 here. The first location opened in 2017 in Surf City on Topsail Island, and we expanded to Wrightsville Beach, and currently have 3 stores in southern New Jersey, 1 in Delaware, and we also partnered with a national online food platform, Goldbelly, where we are able to ship our pots nationwide.
Okay. So Danielle, there's several reporters in the room today, in case there's any potential news you wanted to announce.
Yes, as part of our growth strategy, we are at the very end of our franchise development process, and we expect to be able to launch that program in mid to late summer, and we are super excited to partner with new owner-operators and bring Topsail Steamer throughout the country.
So give us a little bit of a sense of how you see that rolling out, and how quickly you want to, adding franchise locations as well as your company-owned?
Yep, so we're going to continue a dual growth strategy. We will be opening a new corporate store in Florida at the end of the, hopefully by October in Anna Maria. So we'll continue to open corporate stores where we think it makes sense logistically, where the, if they're adjacent to other corporate stores. But as far as the rollout, we're gonna start out organically. We're gonna be. It's really important for us for me and for the company to make sure that as we franchise, that we're able to maintain the culture and the standards and continue to offer the Topsail Steamer experience exactly as if you were walking into a corporate store. So we'll be deliberate and we'll be intentional about the markets that we go into and the people that show interest in the partnership. So it won't be, we don't expect it to, the first year will be, I would say, gradual.
So Natalie, you have a growing nonprofit. So if you could talk a little bit about the Chamber, particularly the Chamber's taken on an increased role around exactly the topic today, growing businesses in our region. Can you kind of explain to folks how the Chamber fits in with this?
Sure. So traditionally, the Chamber has always been involved in economic development from the business advocacy perspective. We are here to make sure that you all can continue to grow your businesses, that you run into fewer regulations, or that when you do run into those regulations, you have a way to get over a barrier that might be preventing your growth. And we're still here to do that. And we've also, in partnership with New Hanover County, added a different component of our economic development ecosystem in the last year, and that is to focus on existing businesses specifically, and especially those in a smaller category, say 25 or fewer employees and $5 million in annual revenue. We work really closely in that space with Wilmington Business Development and Wilmington Downtown Inc. to ensure that we're not competing with each other. Guys, we're all doing the same thing, and it's to the end of growing our economy in southeastern North Carolina. And so we work very closely. Sometimes there are projects that we pass back and forth that we work on hand in hand, but we're here to help make sure you can continue to grow your business.
Great, thank you. So, the main crux of our conversation today is to talk about the advantages and challenges of growing companies here. So let's jump right into that. And I think, sure, number one for all of these businesses, hiring the right people and finding the right skill sets in Wilmington as much as possible to be able to grow their businesses. So maybe, Carolyn, since you are the head of talent acquisition for one of the fastest growing companies in town, and you also have the vantage point of directly comparing Wilmington to a couple other markets where you're also actively recruiting, take us through what are the advantages and disadvantages of recruiting here versus other places?
I think that the biggest advantage that we have here is because we have been here since 2009. Megacorp has always been involved, in the community. We've always volunteered. We put on events. We go out and we talk about how great the company culture is. So, even at restaurants and things like that, people are like, "Oh my God, what do you guys do?" And it's like, "Oh, it's Megacorp. We love working here." So, as a company grows, they always go through the pain points of how do we maintain the culture. Right, so that was talked about. Danielle talked about that with maintaining the culture, and if you don't keep your thumb underneath it and keep a pulse check, it's not about the numbers, right? Like if you take care of your people, then the numbers will come. So I think in Wilmington, because the foundation is here, and because our owner is very involved with the day-to-day, he's in the office constantly. You see him walking around, talking to all the new people, meeting people. I think it's easier in this market just because of the longevity and the foundation of the culture of the company was established long before I ever came. I'm fortunate enough to come into this space and kind of have this, whirlwind of people going, we want to work here, right? And so then it's my job to really promote that out. So one of my jobs also is, as the leader of my talent acquisition team, how do we put that into play into other offices, right? So how do we get this same sort of culture and people know about Megacorp in a positive way and not just, oh, they're a great place to work, or hey, they hire a bunch of people, or hey, they hire college grads, but what is our core value? You know, we're a fun group of people, we're very personable, we're very helpful, and we believe in megacorp, and we believe in the communities that we're in. So that is where, I would say that's probably the biggest struggle is our other markets, they don't know who we are yet, so they don't know that we're a great place to work that's really going to take care of its people.
So of the hires you're making in Wilmington, about what % are folks that are already here, and how many are you moving in for positions here?
I mean, I would say that probably 90 to 95% of them are already here. They've already found a home in Wilmington, and excuse me, whether it's from a new college grad, maybe they're from, some other part of the, state or part of the country, and they go to school here, whether it be at UNCW or, the community college here. It doesn't matter what the reason is that brought them here. They fell in love with Wilmington, right? They fall in love with the people and everything that Wilmington has to offer. And, the city and state have done such a great job, and the county have done such a great job with promoting the area. People don't want to leave here. Or it's people that, have vacationed here a few times, or they have a second home here and they choose to, make a move and move into Wilmington. So it really, most of the people that we're hiring are from this area or live in this area currently.
Yeah. So Ben, I'm interested in how that is similar or different for Vanica, and you probably have somewhat of a different viewpoint given, the technology nature of your business and the, high-end developers and folks that you bring in. We talked before this discussion, and I'm sure as all of you know, with Live Oak Bank and Encino, it has been proven now, multi-billion-dollar publicly valued companies can grow up in Wilmington and recruit the talent they need here. I feel like we're starting to see the second wave of companies like Vanica do that, but I'd be interested in, how is it acquiring talent? Is it becoming more competitive locally for that talent?
Yeah, great question. I'll start answering the first part, and then I'll get to the competitive side of the question. First, on the note of Live Oak Bank and Encino, those entities in particular were awesome trailblazers in this market to prove it. And I think they proved it, that you can be a technology-focused company in Wilmington, North Carolina, and not be in the Triangle or even further in the Bay Area or otherwise, and become a unicorn or become a publicly traded company. So they proved that, and I think there's a lot of us in this room who believed that even before, but now they've proved it, and it's easier to show that through that achievement that they've had as we recruit folks. So just since 2016, when we got started, compared to now, people understand the kind of startup and tech ecosystem in Wilmington, whether we're talking to someone from Wilmington already, or someone from the Triangle, or someone from Ohio. They'll say, oh yeah, I know, I've heard of Wilmington, this company's there, that company's there, I know folks in the Triangle. And so I definitely don't want to say it's easier. We've got a couple folks on our talent acquisition team at Table 31, and they'd give me a hard time if I said if it's gotten easier, because recruiting is always challenging. But Wilmington is an incredible asset for us in recruiting. Because once people are here, they want to grow here and they want to stay. And I certainly think the companies you mentioned, like Live Oak Bank, Encino, and hopefully now us, there's a place for people to really grow in technology here in Wilmington. But also people want to live here and want to move here. We hire folks all the time from other parts of the country. About 80% of our folks are here in Wilmington, and we've got kind of a distributed workforce outside of Wilmington. And there's been more than one occasion that after a couple holiday parties and summer events where people come in that, our team gets a call and says, by the way, I'm moving to Wilmington. I just want to be where the team is. It's such an amazing place to live. So Wilmington's a great asset for us.
Mm-hmm. And can you talk about a little bit, so you previously had a lot of your engineers and technical folks in Atlanta, but then that changed. Can you kind of take us through that process, how that went?
We did. Early on, we had a small software development office in Atlanta, and that was a little bit hedging our bets maybe early on, saying, can we find the best software engineers in Wilmington? Can we convince them to move to Wilmington? We weren't sure. We were still in kind of the early days of making sure we had great product market fit and this company could scale. And we really believe in that culture and people being together, maybe not all the time, but sometimes is a really important part of what we do. So we made the decision in 2019 to move a few folks who wanted to come to Wilmington from our Atlanta office to Wilmington, then focus our hiring here. And again, we'll still hire remote employees. We want the absolute best folks for any role, and that's our top priority. But if we can find an A player in Wilmington and an A player across the country, we're going to hire the A player in Wilmington every single time.
Good. So Danielle, you kind of have a unique perspective from two different vantage points. One, you run retail, hospitality businesses in our region. Now you're standing up a larger company to be able to, and you're already expanding to other markets and standing up a franchise operation. Kind of take us through, both sides of that, both hiring on the local level for the stores, as well as starting to build out this larger company.
Wilmington has also been a great resource for us because when we first started hiring, it was really just for people working in the stores. And with having two kids, my son was at UNCW and my daughter was at ECU at the time, we really just started with me, them, and some college friends. And as we grew, it just continued to be a network of students from mostly UNCW. And we, similar to what Catherine said, is once we had people that worked for us, they just loved working for the business. They loved the job. They loved the opportunity. So it would be just usually a network of recommendations and friends of friends and friends. And so since then, we have been really fortunate to have a good pool of employees for our North Carolina stores. And then because we've mostly gotten such young talent, my goal is, even if they're with us a short time or a long time, is to try to develop that talent as much as I can, as much as we can, to expose them to things that will help them in their next journey, or possibly to stay with us. So we've seen a few of them grow to some corporate positions within the company. So and I think that's going to continue to be a pipeline for us as we grow. That's the intention. Just naturally, that's happened. We also have some that have agreed to go out of market for us. So we have. We're really feeding the outside businesses right now with the talent that's coming through Wilmington and that has been with us from the beginning. But we are seeing those challenges in other markets, newer markets, where people don't know us and they don't know. They don't know the company, they don't know the story, they don't know the job and the opportunity, so we're having a tough time having them come in to make seafood buckets because they don't realize that there's not the buzz or the networking in those markets. So that's been a challenge for us. But I would agree with Ben. It's such an asset here because we've got such a pool of talent, and for us, it's talent to develop.
So I'm going to see now if somehow we can get Natalie to come out of her shell and talk about workforce development, which it's really hard to get her going on this. So workforce now.
Yeah, so I think it's really on target that Rob invited representatives of these three industries, because they are three of the top growing industries, not only their companies, but their industries and top employers as industry sectors. And the top concern we hear from employers across the board is attracting and retaining talent. And it has been. It was before COVID, and it's just been exacerbated as a result of trends changing. I don't know if you know this, but from 2018, creation of businesses in North Carolina, the number of new businesses created doubled. New business creations in 2021 doubled what was created in 2018. So that pandemic gave us a lot of opportunity to retire early in some cases, to start a business, to come, basically when you do that, you come out of the workforce. And in America, we're not making as many babies as we used to in previous generations. So we are literally seeing that there are more jobs across the country than there are people to fill them. And we have to ensure that not only do we remain an attractive place to bring people from outside, but we got to look at the populations in our community who can be upskilled to better paying jobs. They're across the board. The economic mobility study that Greenfield, Robin Spinks just completed for New Hanover County outlined that we have a lot of job growth at the lower end for wage earners and a lot of growth at the higher end, but we're missing our manufacturing middle, and we cannot ignore. And manufacturing isn't what you think it is. It's not what it used to be generations ago. It's a different business. A lot of manufacturing is very entrepreneurial. It's very small, and they're creating products that are part of a supply chain with reshoring of manufacturers from other parts of the world. We're going to see opportunities, and if we're not helping those people in the middle get upskilled for those jobs, we're going to miss a tremendous opportunity to ensure we can continue to grow our economy. And Cape Fear Community College and UNC Wilmington, your Chamber of Commerce, we're all in the New Hanover County school system, we're all working together. How do we develop the pipeline for today? Because that's critical. But then how do we keep looking back to ensure that 7th graders who are growing up in New Hanover County know that they don't have to be an NBA player or an NFL player to be successful. They can stay right here in Wilmington, and they can eventually work for Topsail Steamer or Vanica or Megacorp. That's what we've got to do, is make sure that they understand all of those things.
So where would you say we are at in terms of the partnership with educational institutions? And part of it, I feel like, is just a lack of awareness oftentimes of high school students, young adults, their parents. There are even manufacturing operations that are here that have good paying jobs, that have trouble finding the people that have the right training. So what grade would you give us, or where would you say we are? And
So I think I would probably give us a C+ or a B-. I think that we have phenomenal job opportunities in our community, and it is about awareness. So those of us who are parents in the room, don't think that there's only one way. We used to call them white-collar jobs versus blue-collar jobs versus service jobs. They're all jobs, and they're all a part of our economy, and they're all a part of making sure that we have a successful region that allows for continued growth, wealth development and creation. If we're not making sure that our children are fully aware of all those opportunities, then we're missing an opportunity ourselves. But then to look at, there are people in our community, in our country, who've been led to believe all along that they either have to go to a 4-year college, or they have to go to community college, or you just need to find a job after high school. You know what? All of those people and all of those jobs are important. And our community college, Cape Fear Community College, is very responsive not only to individuals who are looking to skill or upskill themselves, but also to companies that are looking to create specific training programs that will help develop talent for a business. Business owners need to be open to the opportunities, as Danielle talked about, talent development. Sometimes you're not going to hire the perfect person for the job. I heard it said many times, and I believe it to my core, that you can hire somebody who knows how to do the job, but if they don't fit your culture, they're going to mess up your business, especially if it's a small business. You can train somebody to do the job in most cases. And so making sure that the fit is there and that you utilize the resources at Cape Fear Community College and at UNC Wilmington. If you look at the kinds of programs that have been developed just in the last few years on campus at UNC Wilmington, they're about our growth industry. So analytics, data and analytics, cybersecurity, look at the pharmaceutical programs, the engineering program, all of the things at both of those institutions are really critical. And I know that New Hanover County Schools is taking a fresher, more robust view of career and technical education, which is critical for us as employers.
Let me throw it back to the rest of the panel. If you could wave a magic wand in this community and have more individuals with either specific skill sets or specific qualities that you're looking for, what would you like to see? What's your greatest need?
Tell my team to take notes.
I'll start. I think, and this is, we're starting to see these dominoes fall. So I don't think I have to wave the wand. I think someone's waved it, a few years ago, and it's starting. But more technical folks with a better technical background, just more of them in Wilmington, because there are so many jobs between the growing tech companies here, and it takes a while for the ecosystem to organize to that and train to that. And I hope that we're starting to participate well in that. Our product development engineering teams are participating in things like advisory boards at Cape Fear Community College and engaging with UNCW with their CS and information sciences teams. So just more folks with those technical backgrounds, because at the end of the day, Wilmington itself has really high retention, right? Wilmington as a place retains people well. And so if you have more folks with that great background and at least the initial kind of skill set, there certainly are the businesses here that want to train them. And I'll just echo what Natalie said, and I couldn't agree more. We think about every single role as two things, like the right person, and that's totally a cultural thing more than any skill set, and then are they in the right seat, meaning do they have the technical skills to do the job? And if they're the right person, we can help with this one. But if they're not the right person, they aren't a cultural fit, that's harder. So folks who at least have the background skills, that's great.
Good.
I'll give a flip side to that. So we at Megacorp, there are very few positions that we have that actually require a degree at all. Most of the positions that we hire for, it's based on personality, it's based on drive, it's kind of based on skill set. And then where you would fit, again, to the culture piece, we don't even have that extra caveat. So I go through a lot of interviews because I want to give as many people an opportunity that want to come on board with us a chance to talk to me and to see if we can find them a home with us, because we don't even have that extra piece that goes on to it. And so then it becomes, okay, so where's the best fit for you? One of the things that we really pride ourselves in as a company is the place that you start with Megacorp is not generally the place that you end with Megacorp, right? So most of the jobs that you see posted at any given time, and it changes, right? But most of them are going to be entry-level positions. That's what we hire for the most. And it's not because we lose people. Our turnover rate is like 8 to 10%. It's very small. But we promote from within. And that's part of that value piece that we give back to our employees as well, is you come in, you do a good job for us, whatever your skill set might be, we see that we can teach you how to do these things. Nobody knows how to set up a new truck driver. That's not something that you are taught in school. It's not something that you're taught anywhere. We can teach you that, right? You just have to have the basic personality and skill set to be able to be moldable for us to teach you how to do that. And then once you come in and you prove your work ethic to us, then as spots come in, then we just promote from within. And that's a really big thing for us as we've grown. Now across the company, we have about 610 people. When I started, we had about 350. So, and that was a year and 3 months ago. So that's part of and we were behind from hiring from 2020, given COVID and all of the things. So we were a little bit behind as a company. So we had some work to do last year. But I think that's one of the big things to remember is that promoting from within, and those people that have really put in the time and effort to your company to make sure that you are rewarding them. And maybe that does mean teaching them a new skill set. Maybe that does mean teaching them how to manage other people, right? Like maybe you kind of see they have that leadership skill, but kind of not. If they've invested their time into a company, we can teach them how to lead other people. We can teach them how to manage a department. And I think that's something that's really important and has led to our success.
I 100% agree. And I'll just say, and I think any company going through a period of really high growth, one of the things you really have to be intentional about is building institutional knowledge, building, the knowledge within the team. And so we really focus on more than hiring the right resume and the right, they've had that job at another company and they've done that for 5 years. It's high potential people. So Frank Slootman, who's the CEO of Snowflake, formerly ServiceNow, a great quote where he says, we hire athletes, not resumes. And it doesn't have anything to do with being athletic, but it's like high potential people. So we just want to find people with a really high ceiling who want to learn, who are a great cultural fit. And there's some basic skill sets that you need, but after that, it's all about folks that want to grow and want to grow with the business.
Danielle, what are your greatest needs in personnel?
So I think my magic wand, I'd ask for something a little unique, and I think maybe it's just because of where we are in our growth journey. The way I've developed it, how we've done Topsail Steamer is I like to call it, we've really bootstrapped it from the beginning, and we're at the point now where as we saw a burst in growth in year maybe 3 or 4, I realized I needed some help on the outside of even just the resources that we've used in the Wilmington area. So we started to go to third party, someone to do accounting, third party marketing and some PR, and but that gets expensive, and you're fragmented and you're segmented. So at this point right now, I would love to have a team with people that have experience and expertise in growing and scaling a business, but be able to have them on my team. And so ultimately, if I could wave my magic wand, I'd have people that would be, because we don't have the resources to bring all of that type of talent in at one time, but we're just having a discussion at the table, I'd love to find a controller who's got great experience scaling businesses, who wants to work 2 or 3 days a week, and someone who's in marketing and has marketing expertise or digital. So for me, it's finding those people that are kind of have that unique, maybe it's the retiree who moved here who wants to stay in it a couple of days, maybe it's a mom who's at home now who came out of the workforce but is that high talent level that can bring in what we need but be a part of our team. So, and they're tough to find, because generally, this is a discussion we just had, they're not always looking for a job. It's usually through networking, and over the next 2 or 3 years, until we can afford to bring in all of those positions, we need help in those areas. And I'd like to get out of we have some great third-party partners, but ultimately I'd love it to be a team within.
Let's take our first audience question. Bobby at table 42.
Looking for the mic. Hi, I'm Bobby with LS3P. I've been doing kind of workplace strategies for a while. So my question was about lessons learned through a quicker growth pattern, but I've heard people fitting into culture. You're okay with teaching skills, so I'll kind of flip my question a little bit. How have you been able to retain talent in your organization? Younger people I've found have created that better work-life balance. So growing to the top level is not their goal. It's to be doing their job in an efficient and good manner, but continuing their growth in terms of their development and learning skills. So those people who don't want to grow to the top ranks and have that perceived stress, anxiety, but to remain in a neutral kind of position but still develop and grow internally, how do you manage that process as part of your retention package of employees?
Who wants that one?
You want me to take that one?
Sure.
Okay. So, I think that it's important with Megacorp at least, right? Unless you're in a certain role, the growth can be as little, or I guess it's really with anything, but unless you're in a certain role, if you're on like an administrative side of our department, or even in a management side, or maybe you are entry level in that, we still give people annual raises, right? So you're still growing your salary. You might choose to stay in the same position. It might mean that you are more of like a peer mentor to newer people coming in if you don't want the responsibility of being in and having the stress and the extra pressure of managing or leading an entire department. With us, I think it's important that we want to make sure that people want to be promoted. They want to be in those spots, and if they don't, that's fine, right? We're certainly not a company that would devalue someone's ability to want more of a work-life balance and just do a good job at where they are. But those people that do want that and they do want more, then we want to foster and support them as well.
I'll maybe answer it slightly differently for Vantica. one of our core values is always growing. So when we talk about finding the right people and what the culture is, like we want people who aren't going to be satisfied with the status quo. Now, that doesn't mean that they want a different role within the company. Maybe it does, and we want people to grow from within, but at the least, it's learning new skills, getting new certifications, taking on new responsibilities, and learning new things, and that's pretty core to our culture. Is the company's growing rapidly. We want our team to want to grow within it as well. So part of that's, we're very particular in our hiring and screening and making sure that we find those right people, and that probably makes recruiting even harder to really find the people who do want to grow. But maybe the other half of your question is, how do you retain folks that want good work-life balance, and we really term that more work-life integration, because it's all so connected now, and compensation is part of it, right? Making sure that people are paid appropriately and continue to have opportunities to grow there. But then everything outside of that, whether it's benefits or for us, we realized we're in this hybrid model and that's okay, and people can come into the office when it makes sense, and there are times when we need folks there and times when we don't. Unlimited PTO is something that we did about a year ago, and it's been excellent. It's one of those things that's just allowed people to eliminate a stressor of kind of traditional, one more thing to juggle of, do I have enough time? Can I plan this? Am I going to lose these days? We want to eliminate the stresses and the friction that come along with some of that, and let people focus on doing a great job and growing. So maybe a slightly different answer, but that's how we think about it.
Good.
I think we struggle with what you mentioned in the question about it's not as this generation, right? It doesn't always want to get to the top ladder and doesn't want to always progress, but what they really want is job satisfaction, right? So I think what we try to do is I always want to check in with our employees. We have even just we call them our STEAM team members, just to make sure that we're doing what we need to do on our end to provide them with a place and a culture that they are excited and enthused and happy to be a part of the team. And we are going to have some people that really just are going to be happy with what they're doing now, and it suits them and their lifestyle and their achievements and their goals. And then we have people that we want to provide a pathway for those that we know that want more than what they're doing now. But I think the most important piece of it is just regular conversations and check-ins with the staff that you have, because that's where you're going to uncover what areas that you could potentially make better in the workplace or the job, or uncover if you've got somebody in the wrong job, or there's so many tweaks that you can make to stop the jumping and the dissatisfaction if you as an employer just make sure to take the time to check in and have the conversations.
Yeah, Danielle and I were talking right before we started the program that we both love our jobs. Like, we can't remember the last time we woke up and didn't want to go to work. And so that's the kind of culture I try to create in my team. We spend time together identifying our strengths and our gifts to the team and sharing with each other, helping each other understand our preferred communication styles. Hoop, I know I saw you earlier. But all of those are so critical to create that job satisfaction, so that somebody's not worried about how somebody else perceives them. We try to be much more open about that. And I do believe it requires the conversations to find out what is it that makes a team happy or a person happy in their job. What's that satisfaction level? And my team came up with the culture statement for us. Our vision statement is to be a pace-setter team in the chamber world. So the reason you see all the innovation you see happening in the chamber building in Wilmington is because my team wants to do it better than any other chamber in the country. And that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. We just started something last year where we had one whole, we get together at quarterly meetings, and we have, like I said, we create times to communicate, and we just started this practicing feedback. And so it started where everybody is encouraged to, like, when the statement is, can I give you some feedback? You know, can I give you some feedback? So in the beginning, they were hesitant because feedback is hard. Feedback's hard to give, feedback's hard to get. But we've gotten to a point now where, you know, we laugh about it and people are comfortable, and I'll walk, you know, sometimes I'll walk in and even one of the team members, they'll be like, hey, Danielle, can I give you some feedback? I'm like, yes, please do. So once you open that up and people are comfortable with it, it just gives you such good insight into what's going on in your teams and your culture.
Well, let's shift to another big issue in growing businesses here. Natalie referenced the report that Robin did recently for New Hanover County that studied a lot of these issues in an in-depth way. So if you look in that report under limitations, number one issue, lack of available sites and buildings. So I know a lot of, you know, these companies are growing, and I know, I'm sure, Natalie, you can talk, you know, in terms of industrial sites or warehouse sites. So maybe, Natalie, if you want to kick us off, so is that a limiting factor right now in terms of offices and other sites that companies are looking for?
It absolutely is, and if you ask our partners at Wilmington Business Development or Wilmington Downtown Inc., they'll tell you the same thing. We all are working projects where it is becoming harder and harder to find a location. It doesn't matter the size. It can be hundreds of employees. It can be a dozen employees. And it's a combination of things. One, our vacancy rates are really low right now, and so there's not as much space. But we do still have some land. Everybody likes to say we're landlocked, and yes, we are a small county, but New Hanover County and the City of Wilmington have done a phenomenal job of creating a comprehensive plan for how we grow that identifies where we will site certain types of businesses and residential developments. It is critical that we maintain the industrial and commercial development land opportunities that we have, so that we can continue to attract businesses, but also to help these guys and others grow. If we let that property go and become residential development, we'll start to see businesses not able to relocate or to expand here. And so that's very critical, that we continue to create product. Our airport is working with some developers that are creating additional product, real estate, if you will, that will allow us to continue to place some of these jobs. It's becoming harder and harder, and the infrastructure that goes along with it. So it's not just the building, but making sure that water and sewer can get to that building. And New Hanover County and Cape Fear Public Utility Authority have done a great job. We've still got some areas of our county that need that kind of access. And I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you that another infrastructure piece has to do with transportation. And it's roads, it's sidewalks, it's paths, it's rail, and it's especially a replacement of the Cape Fear Memorial Bridge.
Which, by the way, is number 2 on the list of limitations in the report. If one of the 3 company representatives, do you want to talk about, you know, your expansions and finding space?
I can. I guess I'm making another announcement too. We actually just broke ground on Camp Davis, a site in Camp Davis, where we are building a warehouse along with a commissary and cold storage. So there is opportunities outside of Pender County. I think is a growing area for opportunity in land space. Yeah. So we're super excited and that we're able to have that. And it was that's been developed. It's the second phase there too. So everything was there, and it was it's been it's not been an easy process, but it's been a fairly smooth process so far. Yeah.
Ben and Carolyn, you're not going to let Danielle be the only one to break news at this event, are you? Now, so, I mean, in terms of your expansions, I know maybe Carolyn, you know, Megacorp has done a large building, and I understand is going to be doing more. And can you kind of talk about that process and space needs and how you address it?
So we're in 3 buildings currently. So our night dispatch team is in our old location on Wrightsville Avenue, and then our non-night dispatch, I guess, our day workforce is in our 2 buildings across the street from Mayfair. And then we just purchased 3 more buildings with lease that have tenants in them. So we have acquired these leases now over close to, I think it's the Forum. It's in that Forum area. And so we're in the process of looking at what that looks like to build them out. I know that they're in the process of building one of them out currently to move some folks so that we can finish an expansion in the second building on our main campus. And then what it looks like past there, I have no idea. I don't get that information. I'm just told to hire this many people, and I just run with it. So it's a little bit above my pay grade, but that's what we have currently in Wilmington that we've already done.
So has lack of office space or keeping up, has that limited your hiring in Wilmington at all, or caused you to shift to some of your other markets, some of the hiring efforts?
No. I don't see.
I'm not fishing for.
No, I mean, when we need to have, so we hire based on the need of the growth of the business, right? And so, you know, not having, if we should some reason run out of space, like we'll find space, right? So we're not going to limit the amount of growth that we have. If there's the need for those hirings based on the growth of the business, we're not going to limit that based on, you know, if there is a space constraint. And that's across any of our offices. So, you know, a lot of the administrative and support teams that we bring on and our operations teams, they are hired based on the growth of our sales teams. So if the sales teams, and it depends on the market as well, right, of how many people we really need to be able to do this certain type of job, because freight is very up and down, right? It has its high moments and it runs with the economy. And so when things are tight, it's like, yay, and then we have to figure out and kind of pivot when things start to get a little bit looser. So as long as we have the need to hire, we're not going to be locked down by, you know, if we happen to run into a space issue.
So I can speak that a little bit. Before March 2020, we were all in the office all the time and growing fast, and kind of saw this moment on the horizon, you know, where we are today, and we're thinking we're going to run out of space in our current location, which we love, right? We're 1,000 yards from the Intercoastal Waterway. It's a great place to be. But we thought we'd run out of space, and so we started to look for space, and there are very high occupancy rates in New Hanover County, and not a ton of space, and not a ton of options to go and build space as well. So we got a little taste of that, and then as we've kind of evolved our stance and folks come and go, we have a lot more kind of co-working space in our location now. We haven't had the need to significantly expand the physical footprint. But just one thing that Natalie said, you know, a different limitation, and I think we're starting to solve that, you know, as we bring people here, having the airport expansion has been great for us. Not because we have to do a ton of travel, our folks do, but, you know, people who are moving here who want to be able to take a direct flight to BWI or otherwise, you know, having more direct flights in and out of Wilmington every single day is really meaningful for us. And that's kind of, for a technology company who doesn't need hundreds of thousands of square feet of real estate, that's some of the more intangible limitations. And if we solve that stuff, it's easier and easier to retain people here, move people here from other locations, to make Wilmington more accessible.
Good. Let's take next question from Vance at table 28.
Hello, yes, thank you all for taking my question. My name is Vance Smith. I'm a recent graduate from UNCW with focus in HR. My question is this. Given the rapid shift that COVID-19 has caused with a rapid shift to remote work, how do we best deal with the issue of providing competitive wages while also dealing with developing the company culture within an individual who is not physically there? How do you how do you invest in those individuals?
I'll start. Thank you for the question. It's a great question. We think about that all the time. And I think the very short answer is you have to be incredibly intentional. Like, it's not going to happen by accident. I think our first couple years we had a really great culture, and there was some intentionality, but it was because we were all together and we, you know, shared all these experiences and solved problems together. And when you are primarily remote, or most people are flexibly remote, you have to be really intentional with creating the opportunities in the space to come together, both virtually and, you know, physically together, to build that culture and build those interactions. So it can no longer happen by accident, I think is my answer to that. So we've shifted from, you know, we'd traditionally have a holiday party at the end of the year where everyone who is remote would fly in and do that, and that would be a small part of our team. But now we look for opportunities to create reasons to come together. We have a volunteering program that we do every month where we get a big team together. We meet in the office, have a meeting, go out and do that. We're having a big summer event where everyone in the company is coming to Wilmington to spend a few days together, and just being really intentional about curating that culture and creating that time together, I think is very important.
Good. Anybody else on remote?
I would agree. I mean, the only way to really to have remote workers or to really understand and be a part of the culture is to meet face to face. So same for us. We realized that we have to create those events because that's where you really get to. It's really where you understand the inner workings of what your culture is and who you are and what your values are. It just comes out and when you're in a group together. So I think the only real way to do it is to plan those and be intentional about those in-person meetings. And it might not, for us, it can't always be all of the group, but I certainly make sure that I am in front of or gather with certain segments of our company areas just because sometimes that's just enough. I think it's the most important in order to set and to maintain the culture. Because if you're apart for a long time, it's just, there's Danny Myers has a book called Inside the Table, and he always talks about the salt shaker, right? So you put the salt shaker in the middle of the table because that's where you want it and that's where you're intending it to be, and it always moves off to the side of the table, and you just got to make sure that you're doing things to grab that salt shaker and put it back in the middle, where it's supposed to be. And so and we think about culture like that too. And whenever we see it drifting or something, something just isn't trending the way we want it to, it really is all about getting together and being in person when you can.
And we don't really have a lot of work from home in what we do. Most of what we do is very fast-paced. We work in teams. It's like, minute-made decisions that would be very difficult to do. Some teams do it, but it was funny when I first started. It was kind of in the later part of COVID, and I go in and there's not a whole bunch of people. Megacorp did a great job in responding. They got everybody laptops, they sent everybody home, they gave them at-home setup, so they really gave them the support to be able to, hey, we don't know what this thing is going to look like. Obviously you need to be able to still work and run your business and make money. Here's anything that you need to be able to go home and be successful, right? And it was funny because as soon as things started to kind of balance and the company understood more about COVID and more about how to respond to it, I personally saw people just coming back to the office in droves, right? And it's a really cool thing to see. And we're still people that are still trickling back in and going, I want to be in the office. I want to be with these people. And again, it goes back to hiring the right people that are going to be the right fit for your culture, and you're the right fit for them as a company. We've got perks, right? We've got a gym and we've got a restaurant. We've got a beautiful outdoor space, that we're provided. But it is not, people weren't coming back for all of the stuff that we provide. People were coming back for the people that work there, right? And seeing all the new faces and seeing how much we'd grown, because some people were out of the office for a year and a half, and they were successful in doing that, but they wanted to get back to what they were a part of and being around those same people, every single day. So.
Next question is Matt, table 20.
Hey there, Matt Hilliard, Customers Bank. Be curious to hear, we've got some challenges out there with supply chain and inflation, how that's affecting your business, if at all.
Any issues with supply chain or inflation? I imagine there's many.
Well, I'll go first. Inflation is definitely something that is a challenge for us, especially in the hospitality. We're seeing increases in costs in all areas: food, transportation, products. So in turn, that has, we've had to have price increases, and as inflation grows, people have less money to spend. So we, there's decisions to make, and there's, concern about how that will affect us from, especially our sector, going forward, because we were forced into price hikes, and The question is, will we be able to come down? Will things go down so that we can get into a place where we're not something that that customers choose to skip out of because of the effects of inflation. So it's a concern. We've just been reacting, trying to keep our margins where we need to be to make sure that we're protecting the health of the business. But it's an unsettling place because we really just don't know where things are going to go from here.
Yeah, I think that from a more global perspective, the supply chain challenges are telling U.S. manufacturers that they are likely better off reshoring some of their manufacturing. And that's going to be an opportunity for us, that those jobs are going to come back to the United States, that it's actually going to be an opportunity for Megacorp because they will continue to move things. Our ports have done a phenomenal job of adjusting in this time and are actually seeing more exports than imports because of that transition in where we're making all the goods. And so I think while today you continue to see challenges with supply chain and certainly inflation, but I see it as an opportunity. I'm a glass half full kind of girl, and so that's where I'm looking at it.
We kind of see, gas prices are on the rise, obviously, which means that we're going to get charged from our carrier partners more money because obviously gas is more expensive. And then explaining to our shipping managers of, now the rate that you did have 6 months ago is not the same rate as it is now, and it's more expensive for them to do, anything. So again, it's the cycle balance of the economy and just how you respond to that. We don't, because we use other carrier partners, it's not something that, and we don't seem to have a problem finding those carriers. That for us, like the piece that we have in the supply chain is still rolling, and I would say that it's very, very strong at this point. But it's just letting our shipping partners know like why your rate has now increased. It's due to, hey, gas is more expensive, and truck drivers are, the food that they eat on the road is more expensive, so they're charging that back to us, so, like it has to be charged through. But that's probably the biggest thing that we see as a company.
Less on the supply chain side for us. I mean, we're a technology company without a ton of physical goods needs and certainly services that we provide. But on the note of inflation, and not to get theoretical from like a macro economy perspective, but like inflation and the change on interest rates, and we deal with a lot of banking partners where we end up being the glue to a really large volume of deposits that's core to that bank's thesis and ability to lend and all those things. So interest rates are impactful, not necessarily even in a negative way as they rise to us, but do change the way that our banking partners and our customers all work together. So this is certainly a period of change. It's not necessarily headwinds. It's in many ways is kind of neutral to our process, but there's certainly an effect.
So I want to make sure we cover a couple other things before we run out of time. So referencing back to the report that was done for New Hanover County, Robin and her partner identified 6 target industries, several of which are represented on this stage, where they see the greatest opportunity for our region to keep growing businesses. So one is existing business expansion, warehouse logistics, life sciences manufacturing / pharmaceuticals, tech companies, offshore wind, and film. So I don't know, Natalie, if you could, not necessarily from this report, but take us through. I mean, you were in Charlotte for a while before in a similar role, and as you look at this community, obviously we can't be all things to all people. We can't be all places all times. Where do you think our focus should be on taking advantage of some of these opportunities we have?
Well, so a couple key points that Robin and Mary brought out in the report, that existing business growth. I was talking with someone before the program, and he knows who he is, and he talked about another $1 billion company and coming to Wilmington, and I said, or we grow another one in Wilmington. And so that existing business growth is critically important because we've watched it. We've watched it contribute to the success of our economy and the kind of innovation that's happening in the entrepreneurial companies that we have here has nothing but tremendous potential for growth. So that's one area that we all have to pay attention to because we could just as easily lose them. Economic development is a zero-sum game. If somebody else is recruiting Vantica away, we lose. There's no win-win in that situation. And so we have to do whatever we can to ensure we're supporting their continued growth and keeping them here. Another is offshore wind. It is a tremendous opportunity for southeastern North Carolina as Duke Energy and I can't remember the name of the other company just purchased the leases to begin the process of creating an opportunity to generate energy from these humongous blades so long they wouldn't fit in this room that have to be manufactured and then taken on barges out to construct these windmills and all of the things, the component parts that will go into that. Some of our companies are already either making them today or a small tweak to a manufacturing process will allow them to make them tomorrow. And so making sure we're keeping an eye on not only the companies and the jobs, but also the people and making sure we train them as we were talking about earlier. And then there are those things that we have been doing well for a while. So film, you guys, it's exciting to see film is back in Wilmington and we are back to being Wilmy Wood and we have great talent here. We've got phenomenal studios. Even those other states and communities who've tried to win what we lost for a little while, they still can't compete with the kind of resources that we have in the film industry here. And then the digital technology. I mean, Vantica is one example. And you think Live Oak Bank and Encino, there are dozens of other tech companies in our community who are creating new technology, who are creating parts that go into existing technology in our world. It's boundless for us in that area. So those would be the ones I'd highlight. And then somebody out there saying, you didn't talk about me, so I'm sorry.
So I know the rest of you, this is, your focus is not macro on the whole region, you're focused on your individual businesses, but, working in that realm and in your industries and living in Wilmington, what opportunities do you see for our area?
Well, I'll just kind of echo Natalie's first point. The focus sectors are really important, but investing and incentivizing and retaining the top businesses that have a lot more growth behind them. And it is incredibly competitive. We've seen that. There are other states and regions who are very aggressive and competitive with trying to recruit growing companies to that region. And we've gone through that process and been the beneficiaries of folks like Natalie in the Chamber and Wilmington Business Development's work in the city and the county and the state to incentivize us to grow here. And that's just one phase of growth. As we continue to grow, and other companies, like Natalie said, there are dozens of other technology companies that are just getting started. Continuing to look at incentivizing and retaining those companies to grow in Wilmington and grow in North Carolina, I think is incredibly important. I think our folks like the Chamber and Wilmington Business Development and locally the city and the county are doing a great job, but really keeping our foot on the accelerator on that over the next few years, because that's going to lead to 10, 20, 30 years of continued growth in the future.
For us, it's similar as well. So, we love Wilmington. We love being here. And probably much like you, it doesn't really matter where we are. Our reach is across the country, right? Like we can do what we do in other locations, right? We love Wilmington. And similar to you guys too, we love the support that we've gotten from the city, state, and the county as well. So I think that keeping those incentives and keeping that initiative is really what, helps keep us here. We want to be here. I mean, Wilmington is our headquarters. Our owner loves being here. He fell in love with Wilmington, which is why he put an office here and named it our headquarters, because he does love being here. But just that continued support is what really, helps companies stay. I mean, I think that's really important.
Good. We have time for one more audience question. Terry, table 16.
Thank you. Am I on? I don't get my phone, I'm loud. So what, if any, impact have you seen on recruiting and retention as it relates to the housing market currently in Wilmington?
So in case everybody didn't hear, the question was, in terms of recruiting and retention, what impact has the housing market in Wilmington had on that for you?
I'll start. It certainly is, rising cost of homes, both in the multifamily space, from apartment living to, single-family homes, has an impact. And I think that was kind of like an ace in Wilmington's pocket for a long time in recruiting people to Wilmington. It's, hey, you're recruiting you from the Triangle or Atlanta or DC or other kind of metro areas. And the cost of living is so much cheaper. And we've kind of lost that big edge. And I don't know that that's not a bad thing for recruiting, because the folks who are here are the beneficiaries of rising home values and really seeing that. It's just, as we look at kind of the total package of what it takes to recruit someone here and then retain them here and allow them to grow their family here, it changes the dynamic a little bit. But I don't think we see that as headwinds. I think it's net very positive for the region and the community. So I think we're beneficiaries of that, but it just changes the dynamics a little bit, where if we were recruiting someone from another region before, it was this kind of ace in the hole, but that's changed a bit.
Yeah, most of who we hire are, currently in Wilmington. If there's any sort of, we know that homes are, rising, and, as a company, we have to respond, to that. And so people go out and, a lot of our positions come with unlimited commission, and so you want to stay in Wilmington, then you got to hustle a little bit harder, and here we go. So, but I think that the rising home cost is definitely a thing to be aware of, but I don't see it hindering my recruiting, personally.
So yes, it's certainly in the area that Danielle represents, right? The hospitality and tourism sector, housing in New Hanover County proper is a lot. It's a bit much. Yes, we have thousands fewer units to house our citizens than we have the citizens. It's an issue. It's a critical issue. My hat's off to the people sitting at this table and the other elected officials they represent. The county commission and the city council are doing some really unique things to try to affect the ability to create more workforce housing in our community. They take time, but they are committed. They've committed funding. They've committed staffing to figure out how can we continue to build upon solutions to house our workforce in our community. And we have to continue investing in the infrastructure that connects us better to those communities just outside New Hanover County. We have to recognize we are no longer, not that we ever were, but we are not a county where drawbridges go up and all the people who work here live here and all the people who live here work here. We are a region, and recognizing that and making it affordable to live anywhere in the region and work anywhere in the region. And that's not just housing in a particular neighborhood. It's housing everywhere, and it's connected transportation infrastructure. And a bridge. Thank you.
And Natalie got in her last plug for the bridge. Well, if we could please have a round of applause for all of our panelists. And thank you all again for attending. Again, if you are attending the Wilma Leadership Accelerator, you can start to head down to the Nut Street side of the building. If you are not, if you could please take conversations to the River Concourse, because we need to flip this room over for lunch. Thanks again for coming.